Hey everyone, welcome back to Unfiltered. We are back. It's been a very long time. Fantasy football starting up. I know this episode's coming out a little late. Fantasy football starts in about a week, right? Or football in general starts in a week. So today I have my buddy X. X, welcome to the show. Thank you for helping me out.
Thanks for having me.
Today X and I put together quarterback, receiver, running back, and a tight end list. We don't care about them kickers or the defense because every week it can change. So we're not really overly worried about those, but we kind of want to give you our little ultimate guide or quick guide of how you should be drafting. Obviously, these are our opinions, and these are opinions of our own. Don't take this as betting advice, and also don't take this as to heart, because I know there's going to be a lot of hate comments. And that's cool, to each their own. I think I'm pretty experienced with fantasy football, and I'm pointing exactly at the belt. Obviously, it's not just our friends and family league, but I've been doing this for quite a bit. My bro actually got me into this, so this is probably my year 15. I think I've been playing, something like that. X, you've been playing, you've been playing for just as long, I'm assuming. So
yeah, I've been playing football, like actually playing it, and fantasy NFL. Been watching that since I was in my teens, so
right.
very knowledgeable.
But I appreciate you coming and helping out today. For those who are wondering where Bevel's at, I think Bevel is actually in a draft right now, so he's not able to do today's episode. But the plan is to have both Bevel and X, whether they're both here or one of them is here, to help out with the show. And eventually the goal maybe would be to live stream it. I think that'd be kind of fun to shoot the shit with some of the people and let them talk crap. They can definitely talk crap on X's team. So
yeah, we'll see. We'll see. The dark.
What is that? What is that? A Tannehill jersey?
Look, dude, Tannehill was good, but hey.
No, but did ask though. Who's the jersey? I don't remember.
That's embarrassing, bro. That's embarrassing.
Who is it?
Of course, it's the boy Will Levis. He's the dark horse. Brother.
You actually bought a Will Levis jersey?
He's the guy, dude. He's the guy.
At least I got.
I mean, I could have.
The best receiver.
Henry. I could have.
I would have been okay with
Henry,
that.
But come on.
I would have been okay with that. Will Levis.
The boy.
Okay, well,
dude.
I know he's packing. I get it. He's packing. So.
Hey,
but
mayonnaise, brother. Mayonnaise. Hey,
I hope for my card collection that he goes off, because I got a couple PSA 10s of them. But for fantasy, I don't know. I like D-Hops though. I like D-Hop though. But so today, the whole purpose of the episode, like I said, is just to kind of give you guys a rundown of who you guys should draft, because the drafts will for sure be popping this week up into the weekend, because it starts next week, right? September, what is it, 5th?
Some people are already drafting
Thursday. For sure.
I got a bunch of people hitting me up asking my opinions on drafts and stuff like that. I even got a guy texting me right now that's going through a draft, and he's hitting into his mid and later rounds, and he's like, "Bro, I don't know what to do." He had a crazy draft yesterday. Crazy draft. Everybody took running backs. Literally, the first 5 rounds was all running backs. And he was like, "Bro, I don't know what to do."
Well, if you think about it, I think it's because we talked about the hero running back strategy, where there's only so many good running backs, and after that, there's so many committees that, to me, it's like, it's not even worth, like, if you're going to get a committee running back, like, at that point, you might as well go receiver or tight end or fill in another position at that point.
Yeah, but we'll talk about that, I'm sure, as we go down the list and just
for sure
strategies of things. So.
For sure. And like I said, this is just a rundown today. I know a lot of people already drafted. I had people who drafted a month ago. Why? I don't know. You're my boys, but I hate drafting a month before. I like to draft. I have a draft the Wednesday before the season starts. So that's, to me, like, ideal, because then you know who's playing, who's starting, who's going to be holding out, and etc. But like I said, from here on out, after we give you guys a rundown, we're gonna try to do weekly episodes. We will be doing weekly episodes, barring any kind of family emergencies, but that is the plan. And then every week leading up to the Super Bowl, we will be providing you guys with some kind of feedback and betting odds. But for right now, we're not going to really go through odds. It's strictly fantasy: quarterback, running back, receiver, tight end. And then we might share a couple predictions on who we think will maybe be in the Super Bowl and Player of the Year and MVP and stuff like that. So I'm going to go ahead and kick it off at quarterback. This is my quarterback rankings, and I'm aware that Josh Allen has really nobody. However, the last couple years, Josh Allen has been a top 2, top 3.
Yeah.
I'm going through my list right now. Yeah, in the last 3 years, he's been top 1 or the top, and then it's been top. He was a second place. Yeah, and top. Yeah, he's been top for like since 2020, 2019. No, not 2019. But so that's kind of how I made my list. Is I was looking at the past. Obviously, he lost Stephon Diggs, so I understand where people are going to be a little worried there. The way I look at it is that he's still going to throw. Hopefully, his young receivers can do well. He's still going to make those plays, and he's going to run the ball a lot and score a lot of touchdowns. So that's where his value comes into. I wouldn't be opposed to grabbing Jalen Hurts first, just because Jalen does score a lot of touchdowns, and he has a pretty good stacked receiver room, especially that they just traded for Johan Dotson, and I really loved Johan Dotson. He's not in my top 40 list, but he's definitely a good sleeper because he has a lot of talent and a lot of good value. You can probably get him at the last pick of the draft. So I got, as you can see on the screen, I got Allen, Hurts, Jackson, Mahomes. Richardson, I have him a little high, and X, I should say, is going to have a different opinion about that.
No. I'll wait till you get to your 10.
You can get there. You can get there. It's fine. You can go through your list and we can talk. So I have Richardson pretty high, and the only reason why I do is that when he was playing a full game, he did show a lot of promise. Yes, he got hurt, so I don't know what we're gonna have, but I think with his ability to run the ball, which is for fantasy reasons, is a lot of points, especially for the quarterback position. That's where his value comes into. And then I have CJ. CJ does not run as much as the other quarterbacks as I listed above, so I have CJ there at 6. Burrow, Prescott. Originally had Prescott at 3, but because I don't know what's going on with CD, that could even go lower. I would say if you have a draft later on, wait to see what's going on with CD, and that'll go into my receiver list as well. But then I have Rodgers. Some people have him higher, some people have him lower. I really just depend. It's going to depend what we see week 1 with Rodgers. I mean, he's still a Hall of Fame quarterback. He has some great weapons in Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson with him. So that's not a bad spot to grab him. Kyler Murray should have a breakout year this year. I like Marvin Harrison Jr. I like Michael Wilson. I like James Conner. And Trey McBride's is sick. He's so sick. So, and I got Tua, Goff, Love, Purdy, Cousins, Caleb, Jaden, Justin. And the reason why Justin's so low is because he doesn't really have anybody over there. So we'll see how that goes. Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun, Stafford, Mayfield, Smith. And then I have Levis. And then last minute, I removed Daniel Jones and put in Bo Nix. So the reason why I did that is that even though Bo Nix was playing against a bunch of like second stringers and third stringers in college, he was doing really well. And I really love quarterbacks who come into the NFL with a lot of experience. And he's one of those guys that got to play a lot. Brock Purdy's probably an exception, but Brock Purdy was not in the D1 school. You know, he came in as the last pick in the draft and did really well. He also has a Hall of Fame roster around him. However, his experience in playing in the NFL shows that that's really important. I mean, you can look at Trey Lance and the Cowboys. He just threw 5 picks. Him not having a lot of experience in college, to me, is what really hindered and is hurting his career, or hurt his career, I should say. So I think Bo Nix might be a sleeper for Offensive Rookie of the Year, but I don't know about all that yet. But we can go into X's list because I know his list is a little different than mine. So
much different.
So I'll let you go ahead and explain why everything and go for it.
So number 1, 100%, CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud has the best offense right now surrounded in the NFL. There's no way you can convince me otherwise. You got Joe Mixon, double back, dual threat in both the pass and the run. CJ Stroud, he's got Stephon Diggs, you got Tank Dell, you got Nico Collins. Line is pretty solid for the most part, gives them enough time to where, like Rod pointed out, he doesn't need to run all the time. That's a problem with a lot of other quarterbacks right now, because line right now is the worst in the NFL, the worst that we have ever seen right now in the NFL, because defensive defenses are just getting faster, bigger, stronger. It's hard for offensive linemen to keep up. So CJ Stroud's got a good enough line.
Did the Texans draft a offensive line?
I don't believe so. If they did, it had to have been in the later rounds.
Because the only reason why I asked is because they had the 10th worst offensive line in the NFL last year.
But see, that was because their offensive coordinator was doing what the Chiefs did with Alex Smith, getting quick dropbacks, 3-step dropbacks, every once in a while, 5-step dropback, giving you just little short passes, little things. And then once they realized that Tank Dell, Nico Collins, they were good, they started stretching the field a little bit, just putting him automatically in shotgun, giving him that space already. So you didn't have to wait for the drawbacks. You just let the routes develop. CJ just moves in the pocket. He was really good there. But enough about him. He's number one, no question in my mind. He's number one. Number two, obviously, Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, now that he's got Derrick Henry in the backfield, brother, you got the options. You got play actions. Defenses are going to have to pick. What do they want to do? You're going to keep a spy, that's fine. I mean, Ravens wide receivers aren't really the best in the world, but it's still Lamar Jackson, and you still got Derrick Henry who can pass, who can catch out of the backfield too. He did it for the Titans a long time. That's a scary offense. It's a scary offense. The second they got Derrick Henry, that was probably the best thing they could have done for Lamar, because now you have two running backs in the backfield essentially. So Lamar's going to be good. Lamar's going to be very good. Number three, Jalen Hurts. Now that he lost Kelsey, we don't know how the tush push is going to be, but it's really not going to be that difficult. Honestly, most centers in the NFL can make it happen regardless. And even if they want, I mean, they could just have Hurts run on the outside since they're going to crowd the middle if they want. I mean,
they also got Saquon.
Yeah.
So, I mean.
Yes. So option is also there too. Hurts doesn't really like to run too much. He likes to be more of a pocket passer, but, he could still get it done. For Patrick Mahomes, I'm really kind of going solely based off name here because it is Patrick Mahomes. You know what I mean? If you got him on your team, you're not sitting him, even if he's having crappy. I had him last season. Absolutely. I wanted to trade him. I had him on the trade block almost the entire season. I hated him, and I'm scarred right now. I'm a little hurt. He cut me deep.
He finished 8 last year. He finished number 8.
Well, it didn't feel like it with my teens of points I was getting.
He finished below Love and Brock Purdy. Which is crazy.
Dude. It was disgusting. But he's still Patrick Mahomes, so you just got to respect that. So
he's the greatest quarterback of our generation.
100%. He is. Yeah. He is.
He's our Tom Brady.
Yep. 100%. These new kids, this new football generation, he is the new Tom Brady.
Right.
Number 5, I got Josh Allen. I put Josh Allen up there in the top 5 just because of how he did how he's been doing it. He really doesn't have weapons. It's going to be a scary year for him. Then we got Dak. Dak is a whole CeeDee Lamb thing, but still, I mean, if I saw him on the board, I would pick him up 100%. And honestly, I think as my draft goes and with the strategy that I'm going to do this year, I'm pretty sure I'm going to end up with Dak regardless. But 7, Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow has to be in the top 10. I don't like his weapons. I am banking on the fact that Brian Callahan, his offensive coordinator of last year, is now the Titans offensive coordinator. So expect big things. He's also a quarterback guru. Every quarterback he's been a part of, big things. But Joe Burrow, he's still Joe Burrow. He's still got Jamar Chase. He's still got T. Higgins. I mean, that whole offense is giant injury prone, but
he had Zach Moss
still
too.
Joe Burrow. Yes, Zach Moss balled out a little bit. We'll see if he can be a number 1. We'll see if he can handle the load. I love Matthew Stafford, number 8, Matthew Stafford. I love Matthew Stafford. He's got great weapons. He's got a good offense, good offensive line that does really well in pass and run block. Kyron Williams, whenever he's healthy, he ends up always almost, if not always, having over 100 yards rushing. So his line's solid, gives him enough time to do what he needs to do. Number 9, Aaron Rodgers, 100% Aaron Rodgers. The Jets, in my opinion, have one of the best defenses. Aaron Rodgers is going to have a lot of time. The Jets defense is going to constantly give him the ball a bunch of times. They're going to go a lot of 3 and outs. They're going to give him a lot of chances to do a lot of things. Aaron Rodgers doesn't really take chances a lot, so you're not worried about interceptions. That's why I put him in the top 10. Jared Goff, I'm on Ross St. Brown. A poor man's Megatron, but still
Sam
good.
Laporta.
You got Laporta.
Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery.
The backfield, they got
Jameson Williams.
Why not? Williams, I'm a little suspect on, but that's fine.
I like him. He's fast.
I
mean,
like
him.
It opens up because everybody's so focused on everybody else. So I get it.
Right.
We got Tua, Jordan Love, I'm still so skeptical on him,
Hawk
but
Tua, bro.
he's
Hawk Tua.
he's balling out, brother. I can't hate him for that. Kirk Cousins, poor man's Drew Brees. Brock Purdy,
Poor man's Drew Brees.
overrated Hall of
That's
Fame
fair.
cast. Geno Smith, the most. He's
Ugh.
always my dark horse quarterback, the most consistent quarterback you're going to get. So if you are running this strategy of not getting a quarterback till late in the round, Geno's going to always be there. I would recommend picking him up. Always pretty solid. Caleb Williams, I actually didn't have time to update it, but I want to put him actually at 24 behind Anthony
Caleb at
Richardson.
24.
Yeah, is what I would actually do because he hasn't played a game. And that does matter for something, in my opinion. That matters for something because we've seen it multiple times in the NFL. The change of pace is different. There's even a video of Keenan Allen getting a pass from Caleb Williams. And when he gets that pass, he's just like, oh, hell no. That's legitimately what he says. There's a video of it because he went from Justin Herbert to him. So I don't know. That's just a little suspect in my eyes, but it is what it is. Trevor Lawrence, it is what it is there. He lost Calvin Ridley, so that may take him a step back. He got paid big money. And if you watch NFL, you know what happens when big money happens. And my boy Will Levis, the dark horse, the underrated, the man that's going to show the world. Brian Callahan has good pedigree. So every quarterback he's coached and been a part of has the best season of their career. So going there. Justin Herbert, he has no weapons, but he's got the best coach. One of the best coaches in the NFL. So that's going to be something.
Running the ball. He loves running the ball.
But the thing about it, though, is he did take the Niners from a 4-12 season to playoff contention real quick.
And Super Bowl. And lost.
Yep. Happens. Baker Mayfield. Kyler Murray, I think is going to do garbage again. I don't think he's going to do anything. I don't think he's going to be plagued by injuries as bad. If he is, then that only further proves the point, but I just don't see much out of him. Deshaun Watson's a joke. Daniel Jones is a joke. Anthony Richardson did great.
I don't even have him on my list. I don't even got the dude on my list, man.
Daniel Jones, I mean,
the only good thing for the Giants right now is Malik.
Right. He's all right. But Anthony Richardson, he showed his rookiness. One of my best buddies is a Colts fan, and I told him after his first shoulder injury, he's running like he's in college and doesn't realize that these NFL dudes can hit. And I told him he's going to get injured, and sure as heck, the next game, boy gets season-ending injury. And I told him. So that is also why I put Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams at the bottom, because that rookiness is going to come out and cost.
And so the rookiness is why you have both the boys at the bottom.
Yes, I think out of the rookies, Caleb Williams has the best supporting cast. He'll be the best out of them. If you are doing legacy drafts, Caleb Williams should 100% be the first one that you draft.
I think I like Caleb in mid only because I like his supporting cast. As far as like Keenan Allen is, even though he's older, was a top receiver last year. DJ Moore is a top receiver as always. And who's a running back? It's not Roshan. Didn't they sign somebody? Or am I tripping?
I believe they got, not off the top. They have Swift. I'm pretty sure it was Swift.
That's right. Yeah, they got Swift. Well, Swift hasn't finished as the top running back ever, but he's not a bad running back.
I think given the opportunity, if enough people don't really focus on him too much, he makes a name for himself.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have some different opinions as far as like Geno and Kyler. Mm-hmm. I think Kyler just his injuries is what kind of hurt him. But at the end of the year, once he started playing, he kind of went off. Like I said, I'm a big believer in Marvin Harrison this year.
I agree,
and I think that Kyler's going to get him the ball. And I think James Conner's always just been a stud, but Trey McBride did really well last year after Zach Ertz got hurt. So I just think that maybe that's why he'd probably propel him a little bit. We'll see on Richardson because I can see one way or the other. I just have him high based on his rushing ability.
When it comes to Murray, the Cardinals need to fire their training staff because they are plagued by injuries. They need to fire that training staff, get somebody new. Richardson, we'll see if he now learned to not take hits in the NFL and slide, run out of bounds.
Right. But the next set, so we're only doing 40 running backs, and that's just because, I mean, in a 10-team league, you're going to probably grab 3, 4, but there's more running backs, but at this point, you're starting to get into backups. So I didn't see a need in going more than, but you can always check, ESPN, Sleeper, Walter's Picks, Fantasy Pros. Like, there's more running backs if you have a bigger league or you're doing a legacy draft. You can always look there. But for this purpose, we're only going to kind of look at the top 40. So I have Christian McCaffrey. He's hurt right now. I think as the week kind of goes on, I mean, for me though, it's hard because I feel like he's the best running back in football, regardless. And I have his jersey. I'm not wearing it, but he is. And even though it sucks to say this as a Niners fan, he might get hurt this year. And
Yes.
the last running back to have the 2 top fantasy points in the season has been LaDainian Tomlinson, and I forget what year that was, but it was a really long time ago.
Yeah.
X and I had this argument. I mean, I think he's as good as LT. I don't know though if he's going to be able to repeat it. It's really going to go on injury, and I think the fact that he already has a knee injury, it is concerning. But I think with the first overall pick, you're not doing it justice to not grab Christian McCaffrey. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
You just got to kind of bank that he doesn't get hurt. 2, I put Breece Hall. And I know a lot of people are going Christian, Breece, Bijan. I'm not saying to grab Breece in the first round. I'm just saying that as far as running backs are concerned, that's where I have them. And the only reason for that is because his rookie year, he rushed for 1,500 yards and he was number 3 on the depth chart. So, I mean, I think he has a lot of promise with Aaron Rodgers coming back. If he can be healthy too, he can have a lot of dump offs. And Breece is fast, he's strong, and he's quick. And just to me, there's just no other guy that I think can do both. And I think it's the most relatable as far as like CMC, as far as like style of play. So that's why I have him at 2. I don't have Bijan at 3, and that's because there was a comment made that they're still planning on using Tyler Algier, which is cool, but well, why am I going to draft him with a top 3 pick if he's going to be in a committee? Like, to me, I mean, I could have probably even put him lower. But 3, I got Jonathan Taylor. Zach Moss is gone. Yeah, JT gets hurt. Honestly, a lot of running backs get hurt. X and I had this conversation the other day too.
Yeah.
So to me, I think if you're going to have a guy who's explosive and if he can stay healthy, like JT is the guy you're going to take. He can catch the ball, he can run the ball, and he's the only guy there that they're going to use. So that's why I have him at 3. 4, I got Saquon. Saquon's on a new team. Yes, Jalen is going to take some of that rushing ability away. However, Saquon's young. He's very young. And I believe I saw a statistic out there that said that no one over the age of 29 has finished first in fantasy. Well, Christian McCaffrey's approaching, Derrick Henry's approaching, Kamara. Some of these guys are starting to get a little old. Jones. So
Yeah.
I think Saquon has the ability on this team to possibly break out. 5, I got Bijan. Like I said, I'm kind of even more concerned with the Tyler Algier comment that was made. But as far as talent-wise, Bijan should be a top running back, but whether or not the Atlanta decides to implement that is a question that waits to be seen. 6, I got Kyron. So I know I kind of have Kyron a little high, but Kyron Williams, I think you and I were talking about it. He scored a lot of points when he was playing and healthy.
Yes.
Obviously, the injury bug has been catching a lot of these running backs. But now with Cam Akers gone completely, and he shut out last year. Yeah. Number 7, I have Gibbs. So even though David Montgomery's there and is going to take some of that ability away, Jahmyr Gibbs is the better, more explosive running back. And to me, David Montgomery isn't really a pass catcher, and Gibbs gets a lot of yards after the catch. So I think he is going to be more of that guy that they're going to look to. And also the coach made a comment that they were going to use him more this year. So 8, I have Derrick Henry, and I know X is going to have a fit about this, and it's nothing against Derrick Henry because I like Derrick Henry, and I might even grab him before some of these guys. The only thing that concerns me is his age, and he's on a new team, and he has Lamar. And Lamar's great, but Lamar's typically likes to run the ball. I don't think the Ravens running backs have ever finished really high in fantasy in general. But Derrick Henry definitely gives them a better opportunity to be greater. So that would be interesting to see what happens. So now I'm going to kind of just go through it really quickly. I got Kamara at 9. Kamara is kind of the same thing. He can run and catch the ball. The Saints didn't really do a whole lot with him last year, which was kind of disappointing. He had some good games, but he also had some real stinkers. And I mean, I would just kind of be cautious about that. Pacheco, kind of from here, it could kind of be open to interpretation, and only because it's really hard. Like Pacheco is good, but you also have Mahomes who likes to throw the ball a lot. Then you got Travis Etienne. Now with Calvin Ridley gone, maybe they might rely on him a little bit more, but he does get a lot of work out of the backfield. James Cook, that's for the Bills. The only reason why I put him so high is because I think that with Josh Allen not having any receivers, he's going to have to rely on his only guy that he has chemistry with, and that's going to be James Cook. 13, I got Joe Mixon. I do like the Texans this year, but the only thing is the Texans have so many options right now that I don't know who, not four or five players on that team on the offense is going to be able to be successful, so I wonder who takes the hit. My guess would probably be Tank Dell and probably Mixon or Schultz, their tight end, because Nico Collins is still crazy good, and so is Stephon. But we'll see how cancerous Stephon could be this year. Then I got a chain. I have him a little low. I don't really know. Mostert's technically the starter, but Chain's definitely the better, more explosive back. So we'll see what happens there. Kenneth Walker is a nice little sleeper. He's always been very good. Just depends on what kind of Seattle we get this year. Aaron Jones, this is actually my biggest sleeper. The Vikings have nobody, and Aaron Jones if it wasn't for Aaron Jones, the Green Bay Packers wouldn't be in the playoffs. The amount of times the yards after the catch and the big rushing plays that he made last year, and the fact that they dumped him off like that, I think he has something to prove, and I think this has a lot of relatability for me when it comes to like Brett Favre when he left to the Vikings from Green Bay. And I think that Aaron Jones is set to have a breakout year. It's just we'll see what happens with Sam Darnold. Then I have Josh Jacobs. I mean, he's always a good running back, but he's never really finished at the top. He is getting a little older. He does get injured quite a bit. Rachaad White is good in the fact that he's very good for PPR. He does get to catch a lot out of the backfield. But Baker Mayfield proved that he is doing really well with the Bucks. So, I mean, for PPR, you're definitely going to go there. Ramondre Stevenson is a starter. He did really well last year until he got hurt. I definitely grab him. He's probably going to be he could be a top 10 this year, depending on how things go there. James Conner I always like. Montgomery I always like. Swift, he's never really finished at the top, but you never know. He's on the Chicago Bears team. They have something to prove, so we'll see what happens. Javonte Williams, so a lot of people don't really talk about him. Javonte Williams is for the Broncos. He's a really good running back. He is injury plagued, but they have a nice young team, new quarterback. We'll see what happens. I mean, you probably get hurt, but you kind of got to grab him where you got to grab him. And then you got Zach Moss, Zamir White. I don't know why Zamir White's ranked so high. I kind of did a lot of research. He's a running back there, but the Raiders look absolutely terrible. Let's just call it for what it is. You're not drafting their quarterbacks. Honestly, like if you have to draft the running back, you have to. I don't even want to touch Devontae with a 10-foot pole, even though how high I have him. It's just based out of respect when we go to the receivers list. But he has no quarterback, and honestly, I'd stay away from all Raiders players, except for maybe Bowers. So Brian Robinson, this one was a weird one for me. So with the Commanders, this is where we start getting into the committees. And I think with the committees, it's really hard to determine who to grab. Brian Robinson is a starter, technically. And when they signed Austin Eckler, they said he's a complimentary role. So he's going to be a receiving back. So that also hurts both of their value in fantasy because Brian Robinson did pretty decent last year. It was kind of a surprise considering all things because they had Gibson as well. But I put both of them at 26, 27. I like Austin Eckler in general because of who he has been. But if he's going to be a complimentary role, you're kind of going to know. You're basically drafting him knowing him that he's not going to be a starter every week. And you're going to have to base off matchup. And then I went Mostert, and I know Mostert's a starter, but I think everyone across the board, and not even on this podcast, but ESPN and everywhere else, really likes a chain. So it's up to Coach McDaniels on what he wants to do. Is that his name? Mike McDaniels, right? Yeah, what he's going to end up doing with Mostert. But Mostert had the most rushing touchdowns, I think, last year. So then you got Najee. I don't like any Pittsburgh Steelers running backs. Najee's been like a freaking killer as far as like not in a good way, but like just heart-wrenching because people have been drafting him top 5 every year and he hasn't really done anything. Yeah, he's good. He's a good runner for like a yard, but
he baits you into wasting a pick on it. That's what he does.
I like Jaylen Warren. I think Jaylen Warren's more explosive and he has better receiving ability.
I agree.
But that whole team, though, besides like the receivers, we really don't know what's going on. Russell Wilson looks like he's to be the starter, but Russell Wilson hasn't been that good. I mean, he was also on a bad Broncos team, but I think a lot of that stuff is waiting to be seen. So if you want to take a shot at your team, if you're a Steelers fan, probably go Warren and Najee if it's a regular, like, not PPR league. So next we have Tajay and Tony Pollard. So I like Tajay. Seems like it's going to be more of like a receiving option, but I think Tajay has the most upside. Pollard's going to be there, but he's coming in from a Cowboys team who's not going to have as good of an offensive line. So take it for what it is. Sorry, I know those are your boys, but call a spade, right? So Jonathan Brooks,
list, man.
Yeah, Jonathan Brooks. I put an asterisk. So he's a Carolina Panthers rookie. He's hurt right now, and I don't think he's going to play for 4 games. So
yeah, he's not.
I wouldn't be mad if you don't grab him. I think anybody who's hurt or holding out, unless it's like CD, you just don't really touch him. But he is there so that, if you have a big bench and you have IR spots, it's definitely not bad to snag him because he would be good after week 4. Then I got Singletary, Ezekiel Elliott. So this is an interesting one because this guy went to the Patriots, did pretty well when he played, and they didn't really give him a lot of playing time. He's technically not the starter for Dallas, which is weird, but I feel like he has the most upside as far as touchdowns are concerned, just because of the basis of who he is. If it's a 4th and 1 or 4th and goal, like, you're going to give it to Ezekiel Elliott. So, and I feel pretty good of him scoring, so I got him there. Gus and Dobbins, that's another committee. They're both in San Diego. So, yes, Coach Harbaugh's there. He loves to run the ball, but these guys are both injury prone, like a lot. And they were on a Ravens team that really, they had Lamar as a running back, and they still got hurt every year, and they never finished at the top every year. So I would take them with a grain of salt, and I'd kind of just go by committee. If you're going to draft them, hopefully in the next coming weeks, we can see what's going on as far as their playing time, and that'll give you a better idea of, whether to drop one or keep one or whatever it is that you got to do. The next set is Ford and Chubb. So I put Jerome Ford over Nick Chubb because Nick Chubb's still hurt. So, yeah, I mean, I think people are going to draft him just based on namesake, and I think most leagues have an IR spot. So if you have an IR spot, you definitely grab Chubb and stash him, but I don't know how early you would want to grab him, only because we don't know. It's a tough injury. I mean, the guy almost lost his leg, so we don't know what Chubb is going to come back. He might be a good IR stash, but I don't know if I would want to grab him in the first 40 running backs, to be honest. But that's completely up to you. But I still want to put him on the list because he is an honorable mention. And the last is Chase Brown. Chase Brown was a rookie last year for the Bengals. Zach Moss is coming in and going to be the starter, but you never know. And Chase Brown might not be a bad kicker to kind of. It's basically what do we call it? It's your handcuff, right?
Yeah.
At that point, it's a handcuff, and you kind of just got to grab them if you have Zach Moss, just in case. And same goes with Chubb. If you're going to grab Chubb, you got to grab Ford. Because I got into that bad situation last year. So, all right, that was a lot of talking. I'm going to try to go through it fast last time. But our running backs and receivers are going to be our biggest list. Yeah. All right, X. Give us a little insight on your running back list.
So the only reason why Christian McCaffrey, if he's there, bro, there's no reason why you don't take him. But I got that Q next to him because he's questionable. He's questionable. Madden curse is alive and well, dude. It's there. And I even have a bet with somebody that Christian McCaffrey is going to get injured for the entire season this year. I have a bet with somebody that it's going to happen.
That's not me. That's not me.
No, that's not you. No. That's somebody else. But I have that bet because I just don't think it's going to be there. Bijan Robinson, I don't know what it is. Everybody's kind of on him. I think he's a little overrated, but,
that's fair.
To be fair, the thing about it is, I mean, if everybody's saying it, there's got to be something a little bit to it. They're running a new offense. They got Kirk Cousins now. Drake London's supposed to be something now. We'll see how that kind of plays out. That might make people. It might give him a little bit of leeway to be able to actually establish a type of identity in his running. Breece Hall, if Aaron Rodgers can play for longer than 3 minutes, even 4 minutes in a season, then that'll be good.
That's jacked up.
Breece Hall should be good. I mean, in reality, if he was there, I would probably take my number 4 over him because I had Kyron Williams last year, and he was 20s, 20 points almost every single week. So I like him a lot. I like Kyron Williams a lot. Uh, so those two are kind of interchangeable for me. Uh, Number 5, Derrick Henry, obviously, because Lamar, like I said before, that's going to open up play action. That's going to open up a lot of options they're going to have to take their pick. And if Derrick Henry gets farther than 5 yards, it's a problem for a defense. And every defensive coordinator knows that because that stiff arm is madness. Saquon Barkley, going to do solid, I think, with the Eagles. Open up a little bit. That might take away. The tush push does kind of mess him up in his value a little bit because they do run that where most other teams will just run with the running back a little dive straight down the middle, and then you get your cheap points that way. But I still think he's a good, solid pickup. I think they're going to use him. They're going to have to make defenses are going to have to make decisions. Am I going to cover Devontae Smith and AJ Brown, or are we going to try and focus on Saquon?
Well,
So
they'd have to put
they're
a
going to have to
spy
make
too for
decisions.
Hurts, and that's the problem. Is that they're
Yeah,
gonna have a
I
lot of
mean,
guys allocated to a lot of different players.
and that's going to stretch that defense thin. So
Right.
that defense is going to have to hope that their defensive line can contain him, which is probably not going to happen, to be
Right.
honest. But so he has a lot of value there. Jonathan Taylor got paid big money. The Colts didn't want to pay him big money, so the fact that they did means they're going to get their money's worth. So they're going to run that boy real hard. They're going to run that boy real hard. So I think he's easily a top 10 pickup. Etney's good PPR. The Jags right now don't really have a lot of receivers, so you're going to be looking for Lawrence to do a lot of checkdowns. I think that's going to be solid for him. Etney's also elusive, good runner. Their line pretty average, so there's no reason why he shouldn't get good points. Alvin Kamara, I actually really like. I think he's going to be top 5 this year. I just have him a little bit lower on the list just because uh,
He's
like you
always hurt
said,
or suspended or
there's there's a lot of factors with him, so that's why I couldn't put him really in the top 5. The one thing that I do want to point out about this list is how I have this list is everybody going down. Number 1 on the depth chart is before their number 2, even though their number 2 could be better. So just putting that out there.
well, except for a chain, right? Yeah, except for a chain.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things where a chain, you could argue that a chain is the starting running back, but who knows? That's a whole nother
Right.
thing. Gibbs, I'm actually okay with alternating Pacheco and Gibbs out their spots. I think they're interchangeable. I had Pacheco last season. He had a rough start, but then ended up pulling out good towards the end. Pacheco, I think, really I think Mahomes understood the potential that he had towards the end of the season and started giving him a lot more chances. And I think the team as a whole kind of noticed what he could do. Gibbs is on. I love Dan Campbell. I love the Lions. I really do. So I like a lot of their players, to be honest. And Gibbs is just a good runner. He's a solid runner. He's got a good 2-headed beast back there. And so there's a lot of upside to him. And then we'll start to head a little bit faster. Josh Jacobs, new team, good runner though. Joe Mixon, a little scary with
Yeah.
his offense potential. Kenneth Walker, I really love. I pick him up almost every single season. I normally get him for a steal in about the 3rd, 4th round. I normally get him, and he's always solid. Rashard White, meh, he's all right. He's all right. He's there. He's there. I think he's your consistent. He's like your Geno Smith of the running back world. A chain already talked about. Cook, like you pointed out, is probably going to be used a lot, just because Allen's going to figure it out, and I think that offense is going to figure it out. That the running game, they have to do a running game now because they have no real wide receiver threats. Then we got Swift, we got Jones, Ramondre Stevenson. I actually really like. Um, James Conner, had him last year. I actually traded for him when he was injured, and he was planning on coming back because I had no other top tier running back. So he didn't do bad. Harris, I would like you. I would stay away from any Commanders or uh, Pittsburgh Steelers. Honestly, Patriots as
Yeah.
well. I would stay away from them and the Panthers. Those are kind of my four teams. I would stay away from a lot of players from them.
But Ramondre's
But
fine. As long as he's
I,
not
I
hurt,
do I
Ramondre's
do
fine.
like Ramondre, but he's about the only one really.
Yeah.
Nick Chubb, I think you're if you pick up Nick Chubb, you need to handcuff Jerome Ford right behind him. Then
Yeah.
that also goes into Williams. You got to handcuff uh,
Jaleel.
Jaleel right behind him.
Yeah.
100%. You have to. Zach Moss, not bad. Pollard, he's set to be the starter, but Callahan already said that they're going to be really interchangeable. Pollard's going to be the every down back, so to speak, and Tajay is going to be kind of your third round goal line. So handcuff those two if you're going to do anything, but it's going to be hard. Honestly, in my opinion, I would stay away from the Tennessee backfield because you don't know what's going to happen yet. I would pick them up off the waivers if just pray that somebody's stupid in your league and waste a pick on one of them. 100% because that.
Oh, it's gonna
And once,
happen. It's gonna happen.
no, 100%. Once we get into wide receivers, I'm going to be saying that a lot. White, Singletary, Robson, Gus Edwards, Ezekiel Elliott. Now we're starting to get into technically the number twos. Going into Montgomery, Mostert. I don't think you're bad with those. These first ones are kind of
Montgomery's is number one on the depth chart too, by the way. It's still Montgomery, Jameer. I know.
It's one of those two-headed backfields where you don't know, honestly. Every game could change, but that just comes up to coach planning on how they want to.
But Montgomery finished 9 last year. So you
know.
never know. I'm just saying. I was like, you never know.
Yeah, no, I agree. But when it comes to those double-headed backfields, I get really weird about them.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's too much of a question mark for me when it comes to fantasy, and I think you would agree. Anybody that plays fantasy enough would say consistency is what you want the most.
Right.
That's all you're really looking for. You're looking for consistent points every single week.
That's fair.
Then going into it, you got Mostert, you got Ford, you got Tajay. Those are all going to be your handcuffs. If you pick up their starter, you're picking up them right after. Austin Eckler, same thing. McLaughlin, same thing. Charbonnet, I actually like. I think he's kind of a handcuff as well to Walker because Walker does get injured. Hubbard, that Panther backfield is a mess. That whole team's a mess, but he's still worth mentioning. And then Miles Sanders, same thing, just worth mentioning.
Where's Miles Sanders play for? The Eagles still?
I believe he is. Oh man, dude, I'm drawing a blank. I'm pretty sure he's. Oh, dude, now you got me looking.
Sorry.
Right now.
That's what the computer's for. He's on the Eagles, so he's the backup.
Yeah, Eagles. Okay, yeah.
I figured. Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah. Still good.
You know, and I think this is great, like too, for people who are like, because I didn't even really talk about a lot of cuffs because I kind of put them together. It's just hard because right now you don't really know who's starting.
And the thing about it too is running backs get injured. We all saw that last season.
The time.
So handcuffing, sometimes your best strategy is to handcuff.
And just be aware that other people are aware who you draft, so they're going to go after your handcuffs as well. Because they're going to try it and use that as trade value to get somebody else from you. So just be aware of that. So I'm going to do my best to try to go through this a little quickly. So CD, he's the number one receiver last year. He was number one because Tyreek didn't play in week 15. However, if he's not playing, like if your draft is at the very end, right before the season starts, and CD is still holding out, you're drafting Tyreek Hill. No questions asked. I only put CD because he was the number one receiver last year. And if he is back on the Cowboys, then you got to pick him. I mean, it's just the numbers speak for themselves. 2, I got Tyreek. 3, I got Jamar. I think those are pretty the basic 3. Everyone, it's going to be kind of 1, 2, 3 in that order. Those 3 guys. Then I got Amon-Ra. I got AJ Brown. So I put Jefferson at 6, and it's kind of hurting my soul a little bit because I really don't know. I think I honestly don't really want to touch Justin Jefferson this year just because I don't like Sam Darnold in the offense. Aaron Jones is definitely going to open up a little bit more for the receivers, but can Sam Darnold do well enough to get him the ball? And I think that's kind of where we kind of go back and forth. But he was still putting up yards with backup quarterbacks like Nick Mullins and stuff, so we'll see what happens there. 7, I got Puka. Puka is hurt right now, but I think Puka is the best receiver in for the Rams right now as far as his explosiveness and the fact that he's always getting open, even if it's little checkdowns and PPR formats. That's going to be your guy. 8 is Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson's posed to have a really good year if Aaron Rodgers can stay healthy. He could probably even be top 3. I know that's a big saying, but if Rodgers is healthy all year, Garrett Wilson's going to be that guy. Number 9, I got Marvin Harrison super high, and I'm super high on the guy. He's probably one of the best receiving prospects to come out of college in a really long time, and that's not to be hitting on all these great receivers that we have, but Marvin Harrison Jr. is that guy. So I think as long as Kyler can keep his Call of Duty habits to himself, he might be all right and do well. Devontae is at 10, and it kind of hurts me. I want to kind of put him lower, but Devontae is, I think it's more of like the fact that it's Devontae Adams, and he always finds a way to do it. But he's going to get consistently get double teamed, which is going to open guys like Jacoby Myers to be a little more open. But he doesn't have a quarterback throwing him the ball right now. So unless Gardner Minshew can kind of figure it out, because he's the perennial starter right now, I guess, because they said that. Well, I personally, I'm staying away from Jefferson and Adams this year. I'm not going to touch them even if they're available. It has to be like a really good value, like 4th, 5th round, and I don't think that's going to happen. So next, I got Michael Pittman. Michael Pittman has done absolutely really well since he's been in the league. And even though with the introduction of Josh Downs, Michael Pittman's always a guy that is going to get a lot of receptions and get a lot of yards, and he's going to be their go-to guy, even with JT being there. So I really like him there. I got Chris Olave, Mike Evans. Mike Evans has been on this crazy streak of getting 1,000 yards every year. So Mike Evans is probably the most consistent receiver in the NFL. So I would definitely not be mad if you even went up earlier to pick Mike Evans, just because you already know what you're going to get out of him. Then I got Drake London, and a little bit of that is because of the hype. We're hoping Kirk Cousins can actually get him the ball. Kirk Cousins was able to get it to JJ. So we'll see what happens. I like DK Metcalf every year, but he does have some of those big games, and then he has some of those boo-boo games because Tyler Lockett's there as well. But DK Metcalf is going to be Gino's number 1 weapon, so we'll see what happens. And then you got Devontae Smith. Like I said, Eagles with Jalen Hurts, and then they got AJ Brown. Devontae Smith is up there. Got a nice little contract as well. I think he's like at 26 or 28 million a year. So very quick as well. 17, I got Diggs, and some people might have him higher. For me, Stephon Diggs is a diva. Stephon Diggs is now going to a team that has a lot of talent and a lot of receiving ability. And I don't know if he's going to get all the targets. He might be bitching and complaining as much as he wants, but Tank Dell and Nico Collins and Joe Mixon are all very viable, really good players. So I don't expect him to be top 5 this year, but he'll definitely still have some value. Next, I got Cooper Kupp, and the only reason why I have Cooper Kupp a little low is because Cooper Kupp gets hurt every year. Call it for what it is. He's better in the slot, and Matt Stafford has been hurt in the past. So, I mean, even though I have Puka high, Cooper Kupp, I just kind of want to wait and see. Just as you get older, your injuries are going to be more reoccurring. So let's see what happens. But you definitely can't go wrong with having Cooper Kupp on your team. He used to be a top 3 receiver in the league, and people were grabbing him with the first 3 picks. So let's not forget. Next, I got DJ Moore. DJ Moore is going to be good. The reason why I have him a little lower than people want as well is because even though Caleb is a rookie quarterback and is going to look really good, I think he's going to do well this year. Maybe make the Bears to the playoff. I don't know yet. That might be they'll probably be like a wild card if they do make it. But Keenan Allen, the introduction to Keenan Allen also is going to take away from his targets. And even though Keenan Allen's a little older and DJ Moore is younger and probably a little bit more explosive, I think having that experience is Caleb's going to kind of spread the ball around a little bit. So because of that, there's more talent. I don't have DJ Moore as like top 10 this year. Next, I got Debo, and then I got Brandon. I put them next to each other because they could be very similar. Brandon had one good year last year. Now he wants to get paid, and don't even get me started about it. I'd rather have George Pickens or somebody else for the Niners than Brandon Ayuk. But Debo, I think him being able to run the ball and catch the ball and being a little bit more explosive player, he is injury riddled. However, I think he does provide more value for a team, and the fact that he can get you rushing and receiving touchdowns might just have him a little bit higher than Brandon Ayuk for me. Then we got Jalen Waddle because Hawk Tua is going to be throwing the ball a lot, and Jalen Waddle is always a nice bet. Next, I have Nico Collins. I really like Nico Collins this year. He did really well last year, even though Stephon Diggs is going to be there. Nico Collins has built that repertoire up with CJ Stroud and Tank Dell as well. I have him at 40 here, but because I think Diggs is a big diva, he might just some of that receiving value that they had last year might not be as prominent. They're going to be a good team. Don't get me wrong. I just think some of the targets are not going to go their way as much as to Diggs. Then I have Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers is technically the number one guy. However, I didn't put another name is Rashad Bateman. That's another guy you need to look out for. Rashad Bateman is going to be the number 2. I think he's going to have a really good year this year. And I think with the introduction of Derrick Henry, a lot of their passing games are going to open up a little bit. Then I got Malik Neighbors, even though I absolutely despise Daniel Jones, and I think he's a terrible quarterback that they pay too much for. Malik Neighbors he coming off a 1,600-yard season in college. And he has a lot of size on him and a lot of speed. He has potential to do well, but we'll see. Then I have T, and I know I have T Higgins a little low. I just think Jamar Chase is the guy down there, regardless. I would honestly, I'd probably switch T, Ridley, and Pickens, and I'd probably move Neighbors by Rasheed if I'm gonna fix it. Or actually, I'm put Neighbors at 29 and moving the list up if that makes sense. So I'd go T, Calvin, George, Rasheed, because Rasheed did really well last year. Let's see if I have my list of where he's at. I mean, considering all his other outside bullcrap, Rasheed finished 27, and a lot of his stuff was picked up at the end of the year once Patrick Mahomes started picking it up. So Rasheed, Kirk, and the reason why I have Kirk there is he's the starter. He's the number 1 guy. Calvin Ridley's gone. Christian Kirk did well before Ridley was there, so I think he's going to have a bounce-back season. Chris Godwin, he is injury-riddled, but he does put up a lot of value. I'd obviously grab Mike Evans first, but Godwin's always not a bad guy to have as a just in case. Amari Cooper, he's still the guy in Cleveland. Deshaun Watson's look like crap, but Cleveland does have a great defense. Arguably the number 1 defense coming into the year this year. So, as far as Amari Cooper's concerned, he might have a lot of opportunities and a lot of potential. So keep an eye on that. Keenan Allen, you're not going to go wrong grabbing him. Just don't expect him to have the production that he had with San Diego or Los Angeles. Sorry, it's so weird not calling him the San Diego Chargers.
I know.
Then you got Deontay Johnson. Deontay Johnson's went from the Steelers to the Panthers, so he's the number 1 guy there next to Adam Thielen. Bryce Young, we don't really know what's going to happen with him there, but we'll see. I really like DeAndre Hopkins, and I want to tell you this specifically, X. I really like DeAndre Hopkins. The boy gets hurt. He's a little older. I just don't know if I can trust Will Levis yet. So Will Smith. Anyways, so I hope for his sake, he might be a really good steal really late in the rounds because he's going to be flying under the radar because a lot of people are not sure how they feel about Will Levis yet. And there's also Malik Willis, and I think you guys have another running back too, or another quarterback that's coming back too from suspension.
Have Rudolph.
Yeah. He's grabbed Rudolph. Whatever happened to Hassan Haskins? You guys get rid of him?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't think he's.
But that's DeAndre can be one of those guys that you can grab really late for a lot of value.
Mm-hmm.
It's just you got to see how the quarterback play is going to go. So Scary Terry, I got him really low, even though he's a starter. I just don't know what what Daniels is going to do. Jaden Daniels. I mean, I like him as far as his rushing ability, and I think that's why I kept him so high on my QB list. But as far as him getting the ball and having that repertoire and that chemistry with Scary Terry, I'm not so sure yet. But Scary Terry's been doing really well with really shitty quarterbacks for years. So he might be another good steal. Cortland Sutton, I had him at 37. Cortland Sutton, his quarterback's going to be Bo Nix, I think, which is actually going to help boost his value a little bit compared to what they were going to do. But like I said, a lot of these rookies don't have the chemistry with these guys yet, so we have to kind of wait and see. So at the current moment, I don't like him very high. So Jaden Reed, I put them and Christian Watson at 38 and 39 because it's kind of weird. All the Green Bay receivers last year were very similar as far as their numbers were concerned. But Jaden Reed had all the big explosive plays that Jordan Love was getting him open downfield. So I think for big playability, like as a flex, I would like Jaden Reed. Christian Watson got hurt and has got hurt in the last 2 years. And even though he was looking really good, I just don't know if I can trust him. So that's why I would say if you can grab Jaden Reed first, and then have Tank Dale at 40. And for what I explained earlier, it's just because I think there's so many weapons there, which is great for him, but they're all going to be hindering each other's ability as far as for fantasy purposes of target share and receptions and whatever else. Whereas some of these other guys are just clear cut number one guys, so that's why they're more valuable. But X, go ahead and go through your list. I know we're fairly similar for where we're at, so which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
But go ahead and.
The only reason why I put Tyreek first is because of CD Lamb's little holdout, his little diva episode he's going through. Something about Dallas makes every good receiver go through a little, I don't know, diva episode. So, and I don't know. But regardless, Tyreek Hill's going to probably be your number one. CD Lamb, number two. We'll see how that contract dispute comes out. Amon-Ra St. Brown and A.J. Brown, I think, can be interchangeable at 4 and 3, just because they are almost spitting images of each other just on different teams. I think A.J. Brown is just a little bit more explosive, but I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is that consistent catch. So you put them together, that would pretty much be another Megatron all over again, which would be awesome to watch, but it is what it is. 5, I got Puka. I really like the kid. Yeah, he's starting to get a little injury prone, but now that he's gathering attention, defenses are gonna have to pick and choose. Kyron Williams is hitting almost 100 yards rushing almost every game. Defenses are gonna have to choose. Are you gonna focus Puka or are you gonna focus Cup? You can't spread your defense that thin. Have your safety covering Puka, have your strong safety covering Cup with your corners, so it's double coverage, and then you got a spy in the middle looking for Kyron. Matthew Stafford's going to pick that apart all day. You got Higbee as your tight end. That's just going to open
Higbee's
up.
trash. Higbee's trash. Stop.
Dude.
Stop.
No,
Higbee's trash.
He's got weapons, dude.
I wish I can get Bebo in here. Bebo despises Higbee. He's a Rams fan. He's like, I hate Higbee.
Nah.
He had one good year, and that was it. Just one good year.
Nah.
Last year, he was terrible.
I think honestly, it comes down to just the weapons that was happening because Cup was constantly getting injured, so it was kind of Puka, so they could cover Higbee a little bit better. Kyron started coming into the fold, so then Higbee, you can see it, his numbers started to go up a little bit. Like there's a lot going on, and I think Higbee will have a pretty good season as long as everybody can stay healthy. Rams is another one they need to fire their training staff, get new people in there so these dudes stop getting injured. And the NFL needs to stop putting turf. But regardless, Justin Jefferson.
Here.
Justin Jefferson, I'm just going kind of by name here. I hope somebody's stupid enough to waste their first round pick on him. At the end of the day, he just doesn't have a quarterback, and that's too many questions for me. As a first round pick, if I'm using a first round pick, there should be zero question in my mind this dude's going to perform. Zero question in my mind. And the fact that there's a question mark there scares me, which means I'm going to hope that somebody else wastes a pick on him.
You got Chase kind of low.
Chase is the same thing. I'm running off the Brian Callahan leaving train. He was their offensive coordinator. He created everything. The whole identity of that offense was Callahan's. So with him gone, I don't know how that's going to turn out, and that's too many questions. Too many questions for me as a first-round pick. Devontae Adams, I love the dude. Like you said, he makes it work regardless. Jalen Waddle, I love Jalen Waddle. I love him so much, dude. He's kind of like Devontae Smith in my eyes. Tyreek gets a lot of it, but he's still good. Garrett Wilson, kind of think he's a little overhyped, but we'll see how he plays out. He didn't have Rodgers last season, so it's kind of hard to say. Going into Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp is Cooper Kupp. Still good, even though he gets injured. He's still still a solid pickup in my opinion. I would probably aim for him around third round ish. I probably wouldn't go second round, depending on what your strategy is and how you're drafting. I would probably steal him in kind of third or second. Hope somebody's a little dumb and picks him up in the first round. There's always that one in every single league. Mari Cooper, I actually really like. Uh, I actually really like a lot. Um, he had a really good game, in my opinion. He had that one good game towards the end of the season where he got 50
Week
points.
15.
Yeah.
He had scored 40 points, but after that, it's been kind of like, meh, you know?
I still actually like him. I think he's got a lot
I like
of
him
potential.
too.
I think he's got a lot of upside.
Yeah, I like him too. I wanted him for the Niners. Like, if they were going to trade for the Browns, I wanted Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
I was like, I'd rather have Amari Cooper.
No, 100%. 100%. He has a lot of upside. He's got a big body. He's got consistent hands. His routes are a little not 100% in my liking. I normally compare a lot of people to like, the Wes Welker and the Julian Edelman type route running, which is 100%. But Mike Evans, good. He's always consistent, solid. DJ Moore was actually last year was my first year actually having him, and I actually liked him. He didn't always come in super hot, super good, but he's consistent. He's a solid pick to kind of get in that mid round.
He was number 6 last year, so
yeah, I liked him. I think he's good to get in that mid round. DK Metcalf, I'm not a big fan of. I know you are, but I
love it. I love DK.
Oh, dude, his routes are, in my opinion, garbage. He's just a big body with hands. And if you notice, the one thing that I like about him is he fights for the ball up in the air. He fights that ball hard.
Dude, he's a specimen. He's a specimen of a man, bro. Like if there was anybody, I'm like, this is like your prototype receiver, like as far as like his build, you know.
DK Metcalf is a poor man's Calvin Johnson. He's a poor man's Megatron. 100%.
Calvin wasn't like that though, like shredded like that though.
Yeah, no, Calvin was
or that quick.
Calvin was just a monster, dude. He was just a monster.
Right.
That's all you could say. He was just a giant monster. Marvin Harrison Jr. I was kind of skittish about putting a rookie up there because I really don't like rookies that much. Ever since RG3 scarred me from any rookie, and a lot of rookies that have a good first season. Just remember RG3. Keep that in the back of your mind, which is why I always tell people a rookie's only good come their third season, because their second season, that's when the NFL figures them out. So Harrison, he should do good. I think he's got all the ceiling and potential to do good. We'll just see how that coaching staff uses him and see what they do with him. I think we as fans will figure it out about week 10-ish. I think we'll see how he's going to be. So 17, 18, and 19. I literally put them together on purpose, because if you pick up any one of those, you're honestly a little screwed, but they are good. Because the problem that you're going to have, and the only two that I would take off of the Texans, is CJ Stroud, 100%, because of these options, and Joe Mixon. Schultz is obviously still kind of that little pick, but I would pick these wide receivers up before I would pick up Schultz, obviously. But they scare me. There's too many options. They're not going to be consistent. That's the one thing that's going to scare me from them. Are they good? Yes. If they were on another team and not all on the same team, yes, they would be much higher. But they're all on the same team, so it's scary. Deebo Samuel, just a big body, plays a bunch of roles, gets a lot of weird points, so he's good there. Devontae Smith, had him last season. I hated it because it was the A.J. Brown show, and it kind of pissed me off. But, whatever. It was a back and forth thing. A.J. Brown would have like 3 good games, and then Devontae Smith would get his good game. So he's still good, but definitely mid to lower rounds. Drake London, I hate Drake London. I do not like him. Him and Olave, to me, are just weird, inconsistent. Drake London never came to what he could be. I think now he has a better shot because he's got Kirk Cousins. Chris Olave is just a weirdo. I don't know. I just don't like him. I can't really get behind why people have him so high. And I love when I watch people be stupid like that and pick him up. So, Brandon Ayuk, contract dispute, kind of suspect there. The rumors are going back and forth whether it's good now, it's bad now, it's good now, it's bad now. I don't know. They just need to kiss and make up already because it's really annoying. Calvin Ridley, I think that, yeah, honestly, trade him. I would trade him to some team that needs some type of wide receiver identity and pick up a good, like, honestly, 100%. I would, if I was the 49ers, I would trade him over to the Commanders and try and get Scary Terry out of it. That's what I would do.
Love that. I would love that.
I think that would be 100% the smart move to do. I think the Commanders are kind of looking for something. Scary Terry's been inconsistent, and I think with Shanahan's offense, he could really put him into a system and put him the way that he needs to put him.
Scary Terry has no help, though, dude. No help.
No, 100%. And now that if that was to happen, he would be solid. Calvin Ridley, I think, is going to be the sleeper of the wide receiver room. The main thing of why he didn't go back to Jacksonville, because the funny thing about it was the Titans and Jacksonville actually gave him the exact same contract. There was no different. Money was not different in any type of way. Calvin Ridley actually met and went to the Titans because of our GM, who was a 49er exec. He went with them because he asked them one question: am I going to constantly be used on the outside, aka running those little flag routes, running streaks, any of those, always staying on the outside too? And Brian Callahan said, no, you're going to be used in the middle, you're going to be used in slot, you're going to be used in different packages. And so that's why he took the Titans. So I think Calvin Ridley, in a lot of leagues, you're going to be able to get him about mid-round, and it's going to be a solid steal. Solid steal. Tyler Lockett, I love Tyler Lockett. I know DK Metcalf is the number one, but I would take Lockett over Metcalf every time. I can always rely on Metcalf being taken by you every time. So I always pick up Lockett. And I love it.
Lockett for me is too inconsistent, so that's why I don't grab him. And he gets hurt.
He
was 34. He was 34 last year.
I know. And
DK was
honestly,
15.
I like him. I like him because DK does get hurt at least once a season. So that's why I like him.
He did play in week 7.
Pittman is good. Pittman is the number one in Indy.
I like Pittman a lot.
I just can't find any reason to put him super high, but I do still like him, and I like the potential he has. I think in the next couple of seasons, he'll really establish himself, but right now he's just not 100% established for me. T. Higgins falls into the Jamar Chase trap of Brian Callahan's gone. I'm really banking a lot that Brian Callahan's gone. If that does not work out this season and that offense still is explosive, then I have no leg to stand on, and I'll eat that one. Cortland Sutton, I did a lot of mock drafts, and I ended up with Cortland Sutton every single time I did a mock draft, so it was kind of weird, but pretty good. Scary Terry is just that. He's scary. Don't pick him up, really, unless you get him in a late round. Jaden Reed, he should be good with Love, but Love loves to, spread the love
around.
Yeah. So it's a little inconsistent there. Zay Flowers, that Ravens defense is odd. There's no real consistency to it. Pickens, honestly, I really just don't like the Steelers, but he's still that solid.
I like Pickens though, but yeah.
He's that solid pick in the late round. Once you hit about 30 on this list, a lot of them are the solid mid-round. You need a quarter, or you need some type of other receiver that isn't a superstar receiver, but kind of that high to mid-tier. That's pretty much 30 and below is going to be that. Malik Nabers, rookie. Xavier Worthy has a lot of potential.
Local boy.
DeAndre Hopkins. Yeah, DeAndre Hopkins. A little lower on the list just because he is getting older. Doesn't mean he still won't be good. I think he'll be a solid steal in the late round. Christian Kirk is going to be Trevor Lawrence's only weapon. Deontay Johnson, uh, Jordan Addison, and I actually like uh, McConkey. I think he's one of those
Where's he
like
at?
late
Broncos?
rounds. No, he is Giants, I believe.
Oh,
And I think honestly he's one of those, when you hit the late round and you're just shooting in the dark hoping you're going to get something. I think he'll be one of them.
he's your dark horse then,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
maybe, but I would say for a more well-known one, I would say Calvin Ridley.
So
No,
next
no, no,
we're
no,
going
no.
through
You're
our
good.
tight ends. Um,
This should
so
be a
these are
fast.
very similar. Yeah. So last year, Sam Laporta finished number one. Travis Kelce also didn't play 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and
Mark
George
Andrews
Kittle
got
actually
hurt.
finished second, which was interesting.
Oh, I
But
had him and it didn't feel like it.
yeah, well, the tight ends, I mean, the highest scoring. So usually Travis Kelce is one of those guys that could score
Yeah,
as much as a receiver or a running back, and he didn't really do
yeah,
that this year. So it'll be interesting to see if someone's actually going to grab Travis in the first round. It usually always happens, and like I'm okay with
yeah,
it just based on point value. Because if you're looking at last year's rankings, and then after we're done with the tight ends, I'm actually going to get into like the different draft strategies that you can do.
yeah.
More specifically, I like to do a no tight end draft strategy. I had Sam Laporta
Mhm.
because I got him off the waivers. And to me, that's what I like to do because I'd rather have top
Yeah.
running backs, receivers, and subs and quarterback.
Yep.
Oh God, I did not spell George's name right. I am so sorry, George. Okay. So I have Travis Kelce number one. I think Travis Kelce is going to still be that guy for Mahomes. He had a little off year
Yeah.
last year, but also Taylor Swift was introduced. There was a lot of stuff going around. He is getting older, mind you. I've seen a lot of people have Laporta over Kelce. I just still think Kelce's chemistry with Mahomes is going to be second to none. So you're always going to go Kelce. Then I like Laporta. Then I like Andrews. Andrews was hurt last year, but Andrews has built that chemistry with Lamar. Then I got like Kittle. Kittle did come in under 20 pounds because he had core surgery. That's something to monitor. However, George Kittle, I mean, at that point, like I feel like there's a couple tight ends that you can take, and after that, it kind of falls off. So George Kittle still makes that list. Trey McBride, he did really well last year. He finished 10, but he didn't really get started until Zach Ertz got hurt, and then he was eventually traded or he was cut. I forget what happened. And then there's Evan Ingram, who's also he was top 6 last year. And he started seeing a lot of that more consistency after his bye week. Then you have Dalton Kincaid, David Njoku for the Browns, Kyle Pitts. So Kyle Pitts I have a little higher this year. I'm just hoping Kirk Cousins can do something because he had TJ Hawkinson, and TJ Hawkinson finished top 4 last year, even though he missed 2 games. And TJ's not on my list because he's hurt. He's going to be out for 3 to 7 games. So as of right now,
Yep.
I wouldn't draft him unless you have an IR spot and you want to grab him,
Yep.
or you just grab him from waivers.
And that's on my list too. So
yeah,
putting that out.
So and then I got Ferguson. So Ferguson didn't do too bad, I don't think. I could be tripping though. He finished top 9 last year.
I like Jake Ferguson. I like him.
I mean, I think he's going to be an option, especially with Cowboys losing Michael Gallup. Not like Gallup did anything, but they still have CD. They haven't really changed much as far as like besides a running back. So he's going to be consistent. I have Brock Bowers a little higher, and I'm just thinking that he's going to because he's more a receiving tight end. The Raiders had drafted Michael Mayer the year before, but he's more of a blocking tight end from Notre Dame.
Yes.
So I think Brock Bowers is going to be that more explosive option, and if they are doubling Devontae, then Brock Bowers is going to be open. And Minshew can still get it too.
They could pull out the whole Patriots strategy of the double tight end with Gronk and Aaron Hernandez.
So next I got Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert is for the Eagles. He should still do well. It's just his problem is injuries. Honestly, after Brock Bowers, everybody else to me is more of like guys you can grab off the waivers. You might not need 2 tight ends. You might just need to draft a tight end as a waiver backup just in case. But there's not really anything big after. Honestly, for me, it's after Evan Ingram. After that, I can really care less. Maybe Kincaid.
I'm literally right there with you.
Yeah, so I got Komet just because he has Caleb Williams and there's going to be more options. Yeah. Dalton Schultz for the Texans. I really don't like Freiermuth because he did so bad last year, but he's still an option. Conklin for the Jets. I like Taysom Hill as a flex just because he can pass the ball, catch the ball, run the ball. He's a little bit of everything.
A lot of points coming in.
This is your guys' tight end. I can't even pronounce his name.
Okonkwo. Just say
there
Okonkwo.
you go. And then I got Noah Fant for Seattle and Hunter Henry for New England, just because they literally had nobody else. But I feel like your list is very similar as far as tight ends is concerned.
Really, I would probably go Laporta over Kelsey, but I mean, it's Travis Kelsey. At the end of the day, now the Chiefs have a little bit more weapons, so that should open him up a little bit more.
Right.
Should. And Kelsey, you know, I watch Bussin' with the Boys podcast. They had Kelsey on there. Bussin' with the Boys, if you don't know, you should watch it. It gives you a lot of insight on the behind the scenes of the NFL and a lot of good stories that they talk about as far as like even with the Titans, and then also because it's hosted by Will Compton, who was like a second string middle linebacker for the Titans, and then Taylor Lewan, obviously one of the best left tackles until he got botched surgery. But they have interviews with a bunch of NFL players. They even go to training camps. They have interviews. So they're actually becoming something. But they talked with Kelsey, and Kelsey told them, because they asked about the extension because of how old he's getting and stuff like that. And he was like, hey, I wouldn't have agreed to the extension if I didn't feel like I was still going to play at a high level. So he's going to keep that going.
You don't need the money if you marry Taylor Swift.
I know, right? But the NFL probably doesn't want him to leave because of Taylor Swift. So
that's fair.
Now we're getting into conspiracy theories. I'm a big conspiracy theory guy, but let's not do that. Anyways,
let's not go down the rabbit hole.
No. Mark Andrews, to me, is good, and good trade bait is what he is. He's good to pick up, and when people start midway through the season, their tight ends start doing nothing, you trade Mark Andrews. That's exactly what he is. He is trade bait. You just pick him up and you trade him somewhere and get something that you're lacking or need throughout the season. So that's why I like Mark Andrews. Dalton Kincaid, I like him. He to me should be the guy in Buffalo now, in my opinion. So that's why I kind of have him higher. I just think he's going to be the guy. He's the only guy that Allen really has good chemistry with. You could say, Gabe Davis, but Gabe Davis super inconsistent.
I think Gabe Davis is gone.
Oh yeah, you know what? I think he went to the Colts. Did he go to the Colts?
No, I think he went to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then yeah, Kincaid's pretty much going to be the guy. Kittle, I had him last year, and I always fall into that trap of getting Kittle, and I'll probably do it again this year. But I do like him. To me, he
finished number 2 last year. He finished number 2, so
I'm telling you, it didn't feel like it.
1.9, 3, 9, 0.9, 0.1.
Yeah. The zeros were hurting. Trey McBride, I like the dude, but super inconsistent. Evan Ingram is probably one of my more favorites. I always, for some reason, end up with him somehow by the season, by the end of it. Brock Bowers is actually one that I'm going to probably try a little bit harder to focus on than most of my random little picks. And I'll see if I can end up snagging him, but I don't know if I will or not. But I just don't know his value, so that's what kind of makes me a little weird about when I want to pick him up. But I'll probably try and pick him up through the draft because I think he will be good. Njoku, I don't like him, but when you look at his stats are kind of there. So probably end up he's a solid one if the top ones are gone. Goddard gets injured. Yeah. Goddard gets injured a lot. So there's big upside but big downside there. And then those are pretty much it, man. A lot of the guys you're going to end up getting off wires, probably for me probably about the same as you. These dudes you're going to end up getting off wire.
the waiver wire, and I think everything. I think for me, it's everything that's
Yeah.
you basically grab your tight end, and then after that, it's just like you're kind of just sticking with him unless there's a better matchup, and then you're going to kind of
Yeah.
go. Um,
And
but
and you know what? For me, when I do drafts, I like to mess with people's heads. You know, I like to start the panic. So normally when somebody picks up a tight end, everybody starts to panic. Oh God, I need to get a tight end, and then you see tight ends start going right. So once people like, I feel like people are like people I'm drafting against end up getting in like a flow, so to speak, like their plans coming together. You could see their consistency. I like to pick up a tight end. I like to start picking up kickers to watch people panic when you pick up a kicker, and then everybody starts realizing, oh crap, kickers are a part of the game. And then you start picking up a defense. You watch people panic again. It's kind of funny. Tight ends are kind of that. So I would, you have a no draft tight end strategy, but
yeah,
I like to pick them up and watch people panic, kind of throw them off a little bit. But
yeah.
the rest of
So I'm
this
not
list is kind of viewing pleasure. That's your point.
right.
Yeah.
So I'm not for kickers and defenses. I'm not really going to name. I'm just going to name 5 for each because like they're all matchup based. As far as
Right.
defense is concerned, I think it's just Browns, Cowboys, Jets, and this is no order. Browns, Cowboys,
Right.
Jets, Ravens, Niners, and maybe Steelers could be added to that. Those are the best
Right.
defenses in the league. And then after that, it's kind of a crapshoot. Kickers, it's going to be Bucker, Aubrey, Tucker, Elliott, and Zillerin, and maybe Farvar
Mm.
with the Texans. Um,
Yeah.
but besides
Yeah.
that, like, and that's literally straight from ESPN. That's just what I'm saying because I agree. It's not really
Yeah.
there's no argument to be made about those because honestly, I would rather not even have kickers and just do like a super flex or a flex.
To
They don't really add a
be
lot of value
honest,
sometimes.
for me, how I do mine is I actually do waiver wires for defenses. I play week by week. I pick up a defense that's gonna go against a crappy team this week. I pick them up, and then next week I end up dropping them and pick up another defense that's going against a crappy team. I do that every single week. So my waiver wires are normally pretty big. I love the waiver wire.
Right. So so now we kind of gone through that. I just kind of wanted to briefly talk about different strategies, and this is more for
Mhm.
people who are maybe newer. Obviously there's people that have more experience than us just based on age and how long it's been around. Some
Right.
of the common ones, just very briefly, is the two hero running back strategy or the hero running back, which is where you grab your 2 running backs in the first 2 rounds. I don't know how good it'll be this year, just considering how much talent is available at receiver. However, like you said, you went Christian McCaffrey, and I don't even know who would be on the list. Like, let me zoom up here real quick. You went Christian McCaffrey, and you went like Kamara or something, right? And then at
Mhm.
that point, you wouldn't grab a running back till like round 7. Um,
Right.
you can also go double receiver. There's some people I like to, so like I don't like to go into a draft with a per se strategy because it all depends on who's available at what time, and I think that's what will make you successful. Is not always grabbing the top player that they suggest because I don't think that's well. Because if you auto
Yeah.
draft, you're not always going to win. I would say you're probably most likely won't because they
Right.
will draft hurt players and people who are on holdouts. But
Mhm.
if I have the second pick and I see that Christian McCaffrey got grabbed, I'm probably going to go Tyreek or CD. But if I have the 7th pick and Christian's gone, Brees is gone, and I go to receivers and um, CD, Tyreek, and Jamar's gone, and then somebody else, I'd be like, okay, well, what's the best available? And at that point, I would even go in and look to see how many points were scored total as far as like what they're expecting. And for me, that's kind of where I would be like, okay, well, where am I going to get the most point value at in this position? Is it going to be Amon-Ra or is it going to be Kyron Williams? And I'm going to probably spoil it for you. It's probably going to be Amon-Ra. So at that point, I
Yeah.
would go receiver. And then after that, I'd probably go running back or just kind of depends. So I think when you go into a draft, like earlier we kind of alluded, like I like to go no tight end, and that's always what I would do. But if I can get Travis Kelce in like the 3rd round, like I'd probably do it.
Yeah.
Am
Oh
I
yeah.
going to do it for the first or second round? Not this year, because he's not in his prime no more. But typically, where I felt like I've won the most leagues is when I've gone no tight end, because once those top 5, 6 guys are gone, I don't need to go into a tight end craze, and I can just grab someone off waivers. I got Laporta last year off of waivers. I got Trey McBride off of waivers. Like, there's a lot of these guys and a lot of guys who are going to come up in value based on injuries. So, you just never know. And then
One thing that I do is I like to play the mind games. So normally you'll fill it out throughout your draft. If everybody's going receiver, you go running back.
right.
Majority of the time, everybody's going to be like, oh crap. So then they start going running back, and then you switch back to receiver. Then everybody's like, oh man, well, and then you start to see chaotic things happening. People start losing their minds. People start ditching their strategies of what they're going to do, things like that. So essentially, the word and phrase that I saw and that I agree with is zig when they zag. You know what I mean? So if everybody's going wide receiver, then guess what? You're going to have your pick at the top running back. So pick up the top running back. Then everybody sees that. Then they're going to ditch their wide receivers and start going into running backs or go into whatever else. And some people, honestly, they have their strategy and they stick to it and they do not break it. And that's totally fine. But I would say just feel out your draft and you'll kind of figure it out as you go. I I'm not really 100% a believer in like these strategies. I think 100%, like about 50% of fantasy football is just luck of your dudes not getting
It's
injured.
all it's all luck. It's all luck.
Yeah, of your dudes being a part of the game plan. I mean, it's just one of those things. And now the NFL seems to be a big thing of off the field issues.
Right.
So, uh, you know, the one thing that I would just suggest and the one thing that I do is just mess with people. Just mess with people. That's why I like doing live drafts where everybody gets together
Yeah.
because then you can start talking to people, getting them to mess up. You know, the guy you're sitting next to, you look and you're just like, wow, Kincaid's open. That's pretty crazy, huh? And then you just watch the gears start turning, dude. They're like, what do you mean Kincaid's open?
Yeah, I mean, I think next year for sure we'll do live. Obviously,
Yeah.
I think I have some circumstances that we've talked about privately that I can't do it this
Yeah.
year. But for sure, I think that'd be fun to do,
Mm-hmm.
or even start a league. Maybe doing it live for some of the boys that are local out here.
Yeah.
But for the newbies, so I think I kind of want to speak. So some of the experienced players already know a lot of this stuff, and they actually make their own list just like we do. And all of this is subjective because you don't really know. CMC can get hurt the first day. Bijan, Brees, Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen. So really, like X said, it's luck and it's which team is healthier at the end of the season. And if my best advice that I can give anybody is always look at the waiver. And no matter what, if you're not picking up from the waiver or if you're not doing 5 minutes a day, that's what I call it. Your 5 minutes on the toilet or 5 minutes wherever it is that you do your stuff. Spend 5 minutes a day doing a little research, prepping your lineup, and you should be able to be at least over 500. The people who are not checking their lineups and are not grabbing off the waivers, they will not finish above 500 unless they're extremely lucky. So those are some of the strategies. I don't know if I'm going to post it. So we have a website. It's www.fantasyfootball.com. If people want, I could post these rankings directly to the website. Or I can just maybe try to figure out a way to put like timestamps so they can see like mine and your list. Or I might be able to even just screenshot it and post it on the website like that.
Yeah.
Always check your references. Walter Picks is a great, and they're not a sponsor, but they are a great resource as far as like being able to import your league and to figure out like who's best available. It's going to cost you a little bit, but they do help a lot. And if I'm going to be fully transparent, I used that for our draft last year and I won. But mind you, their picks is not what made me win. It was my waiver wire pickups that made me win. And I had a lot of luck because good teams got hurt.
You had
I had CMC. Yeah, I had CMC.
McCaffrey. I bet you.
Bevel picked up Justin Jefferson. He picked up Justin Jefferson. I was like, "Are you dumb?" Like, I told him to grab CMC too. I go, "You need to grab CMC." He's like, "No, I want Jefferson." I was like, "All right, well,
all right."
I was gonna grab Chase instead of Jefferson. So
I hope he does it again this year.
Me too. But yeah, please feel free to comment, shoot the shit, let us know if you disagree, agree. Like, I mean, this is all subjective and it's all for fun. We're just here to provide you a little bit of our opinions based on team compositions, last year's stats, consistency. Like I said, Josh Allen might have a little rough a go just for me based on his last 5 years. He's finished in the top 2 every year. So it's kind of hard for me to not put him there. But hey, you never know. We'll see what happens. Starting, I will give you the exact date of when we will be filming. Starting September 4th, we will be releasing episodes for Thursday morning every week for hopefully the rest of the football season, barring any kind of family emergencies or things that we have going on privately.
Life.
All the way up to the Super Bowl. What's that?
Oh, I just said life. Life's
Yeah,
crazy.
life. And last year we started like halfway through the season, Bevel and I, and he will be back. He's just trying to figure out some stuff with school. But X is probably going to be a mainstay as well, even if Bevel's on here. Like, I think it's fun to have more people on here to kind of put things in perspective and different perspectives. And, you know, even though I might not always agree with X, I respect his opinion.
Yeah.
But I think this says it all. And I'm just kidding, shooting shit.
You just had the cheat code, brother. That's all it was.
I honestly don't expect to win this again this year. So that'd be crazy.
But it's going to be a fun season. As somebody told me, this NFL season, this whole season, is the season of hype. That's what this season is. It's a hype season, man. Every team is different. Every team has stars. It's going to be a fun NFL season, I think.
Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to it. And like I said, if you guys want us to post this somewhere, just please let us know in the comments or DM us directly. I could probably, for sure, it's going to be on YouTube and Spotify and Apple, but I could probably put it on our website. It'll just be a little easier to kind of follow and check the list so that way you can screenshot it for yourselves. But until next time, X, thanks for coming on, and we'll see you all next week. Later.
All right, later.